Alright, welcome everyone to my sniping the dailies. Today we're doing level 1, and last week we did level 0. So, um, level 0 was basically, all new people slash very inexperienced players. And level 1, I don't think the play is going to be that much different, but they probably would have unlocked some more missions, and maybe there's some more diverse mission setups. So, we're just gonna get right to it. I wanted to maybe clarify one thing from my previous video about what like etiquette breaks are. When I refer to like etiquette, I refer to like things that AI do or like that like AI have to do. So like the inspect cycle, for example, when they put it like down at their chest after the blink, that's correct etiquette. That's what AI will do every single time they put down a statue unless some extenuating circumstances happen, like a red flirt in the standard mode. So an etiquette break is only really able to be done by the spy, except for a few exceptions that in these levels you really wouldn't have to worry about. Um, so yeah, that's what that is. So getting into the first one here, let's just go ahead and get started. So our first one is going to be on pub simplified. So we're still in the same simplified rule set where for the bug, you have to be right next to the ambassador, and you'll see the lean over and the arm reach down. The contact is just going to be still the same thing as last time, where you'll know that the spy is contacting, or you'll know that the contact, you'll hear it obviously, and then you'll see somebody talking, like the spy has to talk in order to contact the double agent. The purloin, the spy has to take the list straight up. There's no green purloins in this, like in the standard mode. And I also wanted to make a comment now that I think about it. For the standard mode, when I get to it, um, I will be showing all the missions and hopefully showing all the action tests so that when we get there, everyone knows what they look like. And then, yeah, in the simplified mode also, seduce is the same, where you can only, white it. You can't like get a flirt above a 34%, and that's when you're standing right next to them. And then we have swap the statue, which is obvious. The spy has to swap the statue. Only at the statue pad there's no green swaps, and that will just be an obvious change from one statue type to another. There's only three. And so, like I mentioned earlier, there might be some different rule setups here. Um, we have bug, contact, purloin, seduce, and swap. But the good news is that it's any 3 of 5, so I'm just going to be able to watch one of the hard tells here, which would either be bug, purloin, or swap. Seduce and contact are the two easiest to do, so those ones I'm not too worried about watching too heavily, but swap's really easy to watch on pub, and then purloin's pretty easy to watch in the simplified mode on pub. Bug's maybe the only like semi-hard one, but it'll be fine. Okay, so let's get going. We're sniping on pub and it's simplified, so let's start watching these hardtails. Let's go. So we have AA for our statues. Highlight the ambassador, low light when we can. There's no one near the ambassador or any mission sites right now that I'm too scared about. So I have some time to watch some things, maybe take a look around the party or look at some time ad maybes.
Banana bread.
There's the banana bread, so there's our free lowlights. And it looks like there's no yellow triangle in conversation, which means that this is a fake contact. And here I'm just going to watch bug because the ambassador's in the middle of two people. Right, so Duke goes to the statue on the right. Takes a little bit of his time to pick it up, but I don't think it's anything crazy suspicious. I don't need to hard watch that because I know that there's no banana bread to worry about yet. No one has real. But as we're saying that, I'm also watching Purloin, and I noticed that Sorry took the list. So we get to choose Sorry. And so let's begin the analysis to see what etiquette breaks or what the spy did. And I'm going to watch it in the interactive sniper camera so that I can see. Okay, so right off the bat, we bounce off around in this conversation. AI won't do that. They'll either pause and then find a new spot in that conversation, or they'll just go somewhere else, basically.
And the end of red.
That was more of a bouncing around outside of a conversation and then a awkward stop that AI won't do typically. So I think that had I been watching that, I definitely would have just shot there. I think that there's um, no doubt in my mind that that's the spy. That might have been an etiquette break. Let me go back and rewind. Yeah, so this is an etiquette break. Her hands weren't centered at her waist. So we covered the conversation etiquette in the last video, and I did it all in the spy practice mode. So if you missed that, just go check out the level 0. I do it all after the game. So after game 8, that's when I start the practice mode. And so yeah, there's nothing crazy glaring I'm seeing. Maybe that wouldn't have been an incorrect, maybe that would have been an incorrect path out of the bar, but I don't want to get too heavy into pathing because I don't really use that in my sniper style that much. Okay, we're about to take a sip of the drink here. All right, so let's count. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. And okay, I mean that was a pretty good that was a pretty good leave. I think if I saw that in an actual game, I don't think I really would be that sus of it. Okay, so we go for the statue swap here and instantly break statue etiquette. Same thing, I talked about that in the last video, but just to recap it real quickly, whenever you see someone who has a statue, they need to go through either 1 or 2 cycles, and they need to put it down when it's centered kind of at their chest, and after they blink for the first time, or second time for some characters. Okay, so we need one more flirt to
And
win
the end of red.
at the moment. We fake BB. I think the double agent left, so that makes sense. There's nothing glaringly wrong I see happening right now. We're just talking, which is fine. If say you missed the Perlin order earlier and you remember the statues from earlier, I'm assuming that someone could have got a shot off on that left statue over there. You could always notice that like, oh hey, the statues have changed. It's not AA anymore, it's BA. But anyway, the end of that game was uneventful. We just kind of finished missions, do the normal the normal seduce next to our person. So I think everything ended up fine there. I don't really think that there's much more to talk about. I'm trying to think, but I can't really think of anything. So I think we can just go over the next game. And I'm gonna get start as I go on in the series. I'm gonna get faster with like my game plans and stuff. I don't want to take too much time before every single moment explaining what I'm gonna do. Um, I explained a lot last video in level 0 for this type of, for example, in simplified ballroom known for on this standard mission setup. I explained what to do. It's extremely easy to snipe this. You just have to watch the swap, and at worst, if you miss maybe an early person going to the swap, you could always watch bug. So let's just get into this one. The mission is just to watch swap, so that's what I'm gonna do. Highlight the ambassador, watch where he lands. Okay, see, so someone's at the statue, so now I need to rotate to see it. So it's HBH and then ABH. It's not going to be the same every game where you instantly memorize the statues and then you go to the ambassador and then you do this.
And the end of red.
Sometimes, sorry, there's a BB. Sometimes you need to be able to adapt and change up your sniper style a little bit. So I made a call there because I saw Buns going to statues. I didn't have it memorized yet, so I needed to swing around and memorize it because she was blocking it. But I was also keeping a little eye on the ambassador, so it wasn't as if I just gave up watching him completely. Okay, white dress just went statue to statue. Not completely weird, but it could be someone just waiting to try and swap it at the right time. But we'll watch the etiquette. And nothing. Right now, I don't really have any major suspicions on anybody yet. Queen was next to the ambassador. I'll admit I wasn't watching the ambassador fully there, but in this complete 4-no mission simplified ballroom, I tend to only watch the swap. I don't really need to watch anything else, so I just do whatever is the most solid to get me the win. Right now, I'm just watching. Right now, I'm just kind of watching some conversations and some etiquette right now. Like I said, I'm really only watching for mainly swap here, or if I see something glaringly wrong.
Banana bread.
There's a BB, so free 2 lowlights there. There's only one yellow triangle, so maybe those people are a little bit more suspicious, but the first BB could have been the real BB as well, so. Okay. So Taft is a spy. That was a missed pad there, but I'm assuming we're going to see a swap here. Yep, I'm just going to shoot it. And then, yeah, like we kind of suspected, Taft has done swap and has the real contact. No seduce yet. Maybe it was a bit too slow on that. And then I was watching bug quite a bit, so I didn't think anybody bugged or anything like that throughout the game. So, like I said, I also want to spend a little bit less time analyzing things that maybe are just kind of obvious. And I went into depth in the last video. So if you want maybe a more in-depth look at some of the more etiquette tells in this game, or in the games that you kind of see, I would go to the last video. I think that I'll probably go back to analyzing maybe around level 3, level 4, because maybe some plans for the spies get a little bit more deeper than just, um, or maybe the plans for sniping gets a little bit more deeper than just watching one single hardtail and maybe watching etiquette if I have time. I think that there's more complicated things to watch as you get up the levels. Trying to think what else. Let's see. Oh yeah. Also, I wanted to say that when you're watching these games, it's important to not completely tunnel vision on a character if you think or if you know it's them. I think I didn't mention this last time, but I think a lot of newer snipers tend to maybe tunnel onto one person a bit more, and that's not the correct way to go about sniping. I think you want to keep an open mind at all times, and if you really think it's that person, I mean, tunneling isn't going to make you catch them any faster in the act. So I find that it's a nice thing to maybe keep yourself, flexible enough to where you can see the whole party and to where you can maybe catch something that from someone you didn't think was a spy but is actually the spy. Like for example, in this game against Queen, I could have thought she bugged, but I wasn't really watching her that intensely. Now in this example, of course, I only had to watch like one thing, which is swap, but in other games it won't always be like that. You won't always have to watch one thing. So yeah, I think moral of the story also is just that I want to take less time to maybe watch these a little bit less, just because for one, it's time consuming, and two, it gets a little bit redundant maybe for people who have seen the video and they don't want to, a technical explanation of statues every single time. So I think it's best to keep it that way. So what gave the spy away this game? I'm just going to do a quick little analysis. What gave him away? Well, he swapped, obviously, but before he swapped, he missed the pad. And before that, I didn't really know who the spy was, and that was the only giveaway. I also wasn't watching any statue etiquette, but maybe let's see how he does it here. Okay, that's correct etiquette. Yep. Maybe leaves a little bit too quickly after putting down the statue, but all things considered, I think that that was a good put down. So let's get into the next game. So here we have all four missions, but it's also simplified courtyard. So here's the rundown. So bug, contact, seduce, and swap are all very common missions. Purloin is just when a guest takes the guest list off of the tray, so that white rectangle disappears. So there's two new missions that we haven't covered yet. First is inspect two statues, or inspect however many amount of statues. This one is the most easiest probably mission to understand besides the others. This one just requires a character to be at a statue, and then they'll get an option to inspect. Now, the caveat with this is that there's two statues on each side of the courtyard, for example, and let's say you as the spy go to one of the pads, but then there's another character like an AI that goes to the other pad, and while you're inspecting, they're also inspecting. You wouldn't be able to complete the inspects because you get the choice to either inspect the held statue or inspect the statue to the right or left of you. And if someone is inspecting the statue to the right of you, like an AI is on the pad that of the statue that you're trying to inspect, you're not going to be able to inspect. So it would require another visit. And maybe we'll see that from the spy. I'm going to go in the analysis and maybe look, but we'll see. And then we have fingerprint ambassador. Now, I don't know without action tests if there's going to be difficult fingerprints. So what fingerprints is basically the ambassador, if he touches something, for example, a statue, he leaves a fingerprint. So the next person to go there would then get that print. And then, but there's also a thing called a difficult fingerprint where there's still something that you have, there's still a print there at that same statue after the first person goes there after the ambassador. However, there's an action test. I'm talking about the standard mode. There's an action test that you have to hit to get that second print. So I'm not completely sure in the simplified mode whether or not that's something that I need to worry about. Um, I'm assuming that the spy is not going to do fingerprints this time, but I will credit them as if they are getting difficult. And I'm assuming if it is a simplified mode that there are going to be difficult, but maybe they're just guaranteed you get the fingerprint instead of needing to do the action test. But like I said, this all gets into complications in the standard mode, which I haven't explained yet. So um, I think that we can move on from that from now. But so essentially, let me just go back and replay over that fingerprint. Um, if the AMBA touches something, or even like a drink, for instance, like let's say the AMBA takes a drink, and then another AI, gets requested, or another AI gets offered to by Toby the waiter, and they take the drink. Well, then they can fingerprint that drink, and then the next person to take a drink will have a difficult fingerprint, or just basically another opportunity to get a fingerprint. And for every single venue, in order to complete this mission, you need two fingerprints. So say the AMBA touches a statue and you get that print, and then the AMBA takes a drink and you get that print. And that would be your mission completion. So, without any further ado, I wanted to say my game plan. Now, obviously, in this one, I can't just watch swap. I need to watch all the other missions. Now, in courtyard, so obviously you have your contact and seduce, so it becomes any two of five. And so from the four left, what are the two easiest missions to do? Well, the easiest mission to do after that would be inspects, so it kind of comes pre-checked. So then it becomes any one of four. As in, like, what's that fourth mission, the easiest mission that the spy could complete? And in my opinion, all four of them are kind of harder, but for the spy to complete. The easiest one to do, but hardest one to really get by on courtyard would be bug. Um, but I think that each of them have their own like ups and downs, pros and cons. So I think the main game plan here is just to watch the four missions: Purloin, Bug, Fingerprint, and Swap. Keep an eye on them throughout the game, and then we'll probably find the spy. Uh, it is also simplified, so if someone takes the guest list, that's the spy. If someone swaps, that's the spy. Fingerprint, I don't know about difficult. I'll check on that later. I'm gonna write that down. And then Bug, they have to be right next to them. So I'm going to get into it. First off, memorize statues. Look where Amba's at. Look where Toby's at. You know, the normal shebang. So let's get going. We have BB and then AB. And I like to highlight Toby so I don't lose track of them. I also like to highlight the ambassador. So BB, AB. And now that we have inspects on,
Banana bread.
I also wanted to say that I highlight for statue inspects. So if someone goes to statues, I like to highlight that. I'm also a little sure that I just saw Kane bug, and he just missed a pad. Okay, so Kane is the spy. But let's watch his etiquette just in case. And he breaks etiquette. So I kind of saw this bug out of the corner of my eye, but I wasn't completely sure, so I was just going to watch him to make sure that I wasn't seeing anything wrong. So next, he goes to a statue. He kind of misses the pad a little bit, or shifts onto the pad a little bit, um, and goes in for his inspects and swap. But he doesn't inspect the statues, and I'm not quite sure what the plan was, but that's the thing with watching these like newer spies. You're always gonna like maybe get them on stuff that like they're not like good plans. When you're watching like the dailies like of like maybe level 6 or level 7, you have spies that have a clear plan and you're almost you're almost sniping a plan rather than an action typically. Now of course you can catch actions, but fast forwarding a little bit in the future here, I'm sorry, but anyway, yeah, I don't really see much else here. Okay, we have another awkward stop outside of a pad. As I discussed in the last video, in level 0 video, AI can't just stop outside of the blue pads unless like it's just for like a quick second or so. So that's not allowed. And we just walk to another window pad, watch check. So then we go in for our swap and inspect. Okay. And do we still break etiquette? Let's see. And we do. Okay. And we can leave very quickly. So yeah, another common thing that newer spies like to do is they like to leave pads really quickly and not wait. Obviously, it's maybe a game plan for more experienced spies to do that, but typically when you see someone leaving a pad early like that, um, it's going to be at an ill time in the daily. So like, you know, when the sniper, a good sniper is actually looking for stuff like that, they will typically won't miss that quick pad leave. Like in the upper levels, maybe the laser, you see the laser's not on your side of the statues, and so you can get some maybe like, you know, you could cheese a swap, hurry up swap, put it down and walk away as if like you were never there at all, so that the sniper's like mission count is off, so they don't have your swap. So like I said before, typically most snipers will know that the spy is going to inspect, contact, and seduce. Well, what if they don't have that fourth mission? Then it's just a mission win, typically. So that was the finish there. Nothing really too spectacular. I basically just shot for the bug. I kind of saw it off the corner of my eye, but that's the importance of looking at all the hardtails that you can do and knowing having a game plan. So you heard the banana bread. We got our low lights, and we're still watching the ambassador because he's really the only one in any danger. There's no one at the statues, so there's two missions that people can't do. The ambassador has been like basically in the same place the entire time, I believe. So you can't really be watching fingerprints. And Toby was rejected, I believe, by Seek at the beginning, so I wasn't really watching him that too quickly or too concentrated either. So I think that that was a pretty clear shot. And if you've been watching my other video on level 0, I went in pretty depth about a lot of different etiquette and lot of different tells that newer spies typically have. So if you want to see why I was so sure about that shot, you can check out that. It's probably the last time I'm going to mention it. A lot of the etiquette that I went over, unless it's new, I'm not going to cover it in this one. But anyway, we have gallery, simplified, 3 of 5. So, like always, we have bug, context, seduce, swap, and then in this one there's purloin. So, game plan, there's 2 hard tells to watch, or there's 3 hard tells to watch, I'm sorry. Contact and seduce kind of come pre-checked in my mind, so let's watch bug, purloin, and swap. Let's go. So, HA and BH. And Amba hasn't landed yet. Toby's in motion, offering to nobody. VA can't be, SDA can't be the spy. And the Amba's landed, there's no one near them, so I'm looking at Toby. And I'm also looking at a maybe time ad. I was also zoomed out, so I heard the banana bread. And I got some low lights. Remember, anyone who's outside the conversation circles during a BB cannot be the spy. I'm watching Smallman here for his bug. Remember, if you see that hand reach across, that's the spy. Alright, so the spy is Tex, and we saw him take the purloin and sip way too fast. Remember, you have to wait 1 full conversation cycle before doing that. As previously talked about, you cannot sip unless you wait a whole animation cycle. That's already 2 missions. He only needs 1 more, and Seduce is kind of free. But I think he ends up going for Bug here, yes. And so let's say you missed the Purloin and you were freaking out the rest of the game. You'd still probably end up watching Bug and Swap to make sure that's not going off, or you're watching Seduce. You're trying to see who's seducing who, or another Banana Bread, either one. But yeah, in this case, if you're zoomed out, you see that Tex leans over and puts his arm out, and he's a spy. So it's a pretty straightforward shot. And okay, so we now have another case where it's any 2 of 5, and like the last video, it was any 2 of 4, but this one is 2 of 5. There's 5 minutes on the clock. So this is not an easy setup because Contact and Seduce are already hard enough to watch just by themselves. But when you factor in all 3 hardtails, it's going to be hard to get a mission win or get a sniper win on this one if you're up against somebody who knows what they're doing. Because the person that knows what they're doing is just going to do contact and seduce, and you might be at best left with a 1 in 3 chance of getting the spy right if you saw a person talking in every single conversation. So this is definitely easy to lose, but so then what do I go for? What do I look for? Well, obviously you have no choice. You have to memorize swap. You have to keep track of ambassador and keep track of purloin. That's a given because a spy can still do those. But what else am I going to look for in addition? Now I really need to ramp up the etiquette watching because I'm already at a disadvantage at both in time and in mission count. And I'm also going to be watching to see who's talking during a contact. So I'm just going to get into it. It might require a little bit more focus, so I might be a little bit more quiet, but I promise if I am quiet, I will go over it in the analysis after the game. So let's go. So I can't see the statue. I need to see salmon. Okay, so we have, it looks like AAB, or AAA, I'm sorry. But we get saved because salmon breaks etiquette. So it pays to know your etiquette because he instantly failed. So let's watch this again. Remember, AI will put the statue down when it's centered at their chest, but he puts it down right here. And it looks all jerky and awkward, and it immediately catches my eye. And of course, I'm already looking at that statue set because I don't have them memorized yet, so salmon's already in my center of focus. So before I even have to think about watching anything else, we end up seeing that there's an etiquette break. And so I talked about in the last video about how etiquette breaks and knowing your etiquette will get you a few more wins. Well, this is what I'm talking about. This was already a hard set to win, or a hard game to win against a spy because of the mission count and the time on the clock. But we get a get out of jail free card because of our etiquette. So it helps to know etiquette. And so yeah, there's the bug. I'm gonna watch to see if I see any other bad etiquette breaks. Yeah, and see how easy this is. This is why any 2 of 5 is hard to win because all it takes is just get one hardtail like a bug by, and then you contact, and then like great, Salmon's talking in this conversation, but guess who else is talking? I can see Kane, Twin is talking over here, Flame Twin, I believe. Like there's 2 other people talking besides you in a conversation, so it's just hard. And maybe it matters who's in the yellow one, but what if they're faking? So any 2 of 5 is not an easy mission set to play against, so you need some sort of other weapon to deal with it. And that weapon is etiquette. But it doesn't mean you can ignore your basics. But it does mean that you could take some liberties. Okay. Now we are gonna keep rolling. So we have our bug contact swap seduce. Purloin's also a mission as well. And we also have transfer microfilm. And remember, transfer microfilm is just the spy takes one bookcase to another bookcase and returns it. So they take the green bookcase and they return it to blue and put it back. So that's that. So what am I going to be watching? Well, Contact and Seduce are free, so what does that leave? It leaves a 1 of 4. So I need to watch the 4 hardtails in order to win. Now, the spy or the shark might make it hard because if the spy does say a bug behind a shark, then I at best can credit it. So in this one as well, I might need to watch some etiquette. It just depends on what the spy ends up doing. So I'm just going to start it and instantly memorize statues if I can. But if there's other things like the Amba's in danger, I'll kind of watch that. So I'll just memorize statues. I started with a top left on aquarium, top left, top right, and then the 2 side statues it's the same way. So I go top left, top right, and then bottom left, bottom right. So here we go. So for the top right, HA, AH, so they're switched. So they're inverses of each other. Sometimes that makes the mnemonic easier. And then we have BA, AB. So there's a lot of different statue visitors. I might need to focus here. Okay, so text doesn't swap. Okay. All right, there's no swaps that have gone off yet. However, I did miss a purloin, and like I said, I'm not perfect. But since we know that some people, we kind of had an idea of who was at statues. I believe Rocker's at statues. I think Irish was at statues, I'm pretty sure. And when you play from behind like this, you just need to watch etiquette and you need to watch contact, right? So now I'm going to be looking at who's talking in conversations if contact goes off, and I'm also going to be looking at characters that I saw stuff doing. So like Alice, for example, was at a statue. Alice was at the bookcase when the purloin went off. And also, I want to say, how do I know that purloin's gone? Well, it's easy. Purloin's gone because you don't see the white triangle right here. It's kind of like just a black silhouette. I would also say, luckily, I got bailed out too because I saw Salmon miss a pad, and so I also got lucky there. No, I did miss a swap though. Yeah, so I mean, I like I said, I can make mistakes too. I think my biggest issue was not watching the swap. I just didn't expect someone to swap so soon after a pro line's gone off. But anyway, I think that I think that definitely was just where I kind of lost the mind battle, was that I just didn't expect it. But like I said, when you're behind, the best you can do is just watch other missions and hope that they make a mistake. Like in the Gallery game, for example, like yes, I caught the purloin, but if I didn't catch the purloin, I would have been looking for bugs, and I maybe would have saw a bug. Um, But yeah, this time I got bailed out. I saw him miss a convo pad, and I also saw that he was talking during BB, and he was highlit, as in he was one of the people at the bar that I saw at the time who could have purloined. So it wasn't completely like a lucky shot. It was more so like I ended up catching it because I hold myself to a disciplined plan and I just try to stick to it. The bad thing that people do in this situation is take a panic shot and they risk a shot way too early when they don't have enough information. There's no way a spy is going to be done with seduce contact at this early in the game. Now, after the contact, and if you didn't see the swap, maybe they could have got one by you, but maybe you notice the swap and then you see a contact, then you probably should take a shot. But let's say the swap hasn't gone off yet, and you have been watching Bug pretty religiously, and you shoot this early. That's just not a good shot because they're not done with Seduce. Seduce takes a little bit of time. As you've been seeing in all of these games that I've been playing, Seduce isn't a mission that you could just do in a couple seconds. It takes a little bit of time. Anyway, this is where I think the convo pad was missed. You see, he stops outside of there, and typically an AI is allowed to do this only if this conversation pad is full. So, if this conversation pad was full and Salmon had no spots left to walk to and like no room in the conversation, he would have stopped and then just pathed to another conversation. But in this one, he just goes back into it. So I knew the stop wasn't legal. I also knew that it looked like a missed pad and it looked ugly. So I shot for it. And then my confirmation was when he started talking during BB. And then at that point, it was just a shot. That it was my confirmation that I knew I wasn't seeing things. Okay. So that was a little stressful, and I'm assuming that like it's gonna get a lot more focus intensive when I get up to like level 6 and level 7. This is level 1, and I happen to miss a purloin, so um, hopefully I can do my thinking like with full focus justice in an analysis kind of format. So, simplified terrace and fingerprint and inspects are off, and obviously you can't microfilm on this venue. So, bug contact, purloin, seduce, and swap. And like I said, I'm going to stop repeating myself. I'm just going to watch either bug, purloin, or swap this game. So let's go. We have HH and BB. So they both are the same on both sides. They both match one of the statues. Let's watch Duke's Etiquette while the ambassador isn't in much trouble. I don't think White Dress is really in range. And this time, I was watching Purloin out the corner of my eye. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. The spy's buns, and that's confirmed by the etiquette break, as in missing conversation pads, so we can just shoot her. So, going back to this, so we see that she takes the purloin. It looks like she does the correct wait at the thing. Okay, this is correct. Uh, you do want to wait whenever you take a drink. You want to wait at the bar, and then you want to walk away. And she did that, so that was good. But here I saw this as well. This was my confirmation. Remember, a spy is not allowed to just stop outside a conversation, and it looks like even the person who was sniping them saw that. Okay. Uh, there's a BB, so that happened, and she was talking during the BB. Let's see if she takes a sip of her drink at all. Okay. Okay, so I did want to say this is illegal. You cannot go to the bar and sip a drink and then gulp a drink. You cannot take more than 2 sips at the bar. So when you have a drink in your hand, you can only like go to the bar when you have one drink left. So if I saw a spy drink and then right after I saw them drink again and then the drink disappears, that's how I know that that's the spy. And you can see in the bottom left it says sipped drink and then gulped drink. Obviously no spy or no sniper is going to be sitting there watching how you're sipping the drink, but you may want to gulp it next time just in case. Gulping a drink when you gulping a drink when you go to the bar looks it looks correct. Maybe you feel like it's not correct because you're breaking etiquette. Because spies will never gulp their drinks; they only sip drinks, or AI will only sip drinks. Sorry, AIs only sip drinks; they don't gulp. So, if the sniper was watching and they saw a gulp, then it's a spy. But typically, people aren't going to watch drinks at like the intermediate to higher levels. There's no need. They know that their opponents know what sip etiquette is. So you cannot gulp. But If you're in a pinch, you need to hurry up with your mission pacing, then it's fine to gulp if you think you won't get caught. Okay, and then this is also illegal. You cannot just go to the bar and sip your drink and then run away from the bar again. You have to request and then either reject or take a drink. And then this is the thing newer spies like to do. They like to instantly talk the second they get into conversation. I just wanted to say that, to point it out. It always adds just a tiny bit of suspicion, like if it's like 100 points total that I allot people, it adds like like 3 or 4 points when people insta talk in a conversation. So, do we etiquette break here to leave conversation? Yep. So her arms are crossed, and you see how it kind of looks jerky, like the arms flick back in place. That means the etiquette was broken, or the animation for the idol was broken. And then instant bug, yeah, just to hurry up and finish missions. And yeah, that's the win. So yeah, we just got her for the early purloin and basically missing a pad. Okay, we have one left. And it's the same 5 missions. I think there's a couple other setups, which is just bug, contact, swap, purloin, and seduce. So the game plan is the same as the other ones. Watch swap, watch ambassador, and then make sure that purloin doesn't go off like it did in the aquarium game. And obviously etiquette if we see it. I typically don't look for etiquette, but against these lower level players and the newer spies, I like to look for it because typically a lot of them don't really know the rules yet of like etiquette, and so it's easy to get like a nice little win off of that. So, uh, let's just get into this one. I think this is our final game. I think this is game 8 already. This was went pretty quick. So let's just do it one more time. Still simplified gallery. Let's go. BHBH. So same configuration. So Amba hasn't landed yet. So the first offer is salmon. I'm gonna make a note of that. And now I'm kind of watching for bug. Wheels insta talks. Okay, Amba leaves. Okay, so I missed the fade on the purloin, but I know that salmon was the first one offered to, and I know that Smallman was offered to. Now let's see if Smallman gulps here. He does not. Okay. So when you know it's just out of 1 or 2 people, you want to make sure that none of them are doing anything wrong, but you want to make sure you still lowlight everybody. I'm pretty sure it's just Smallman. I think that's who it is. But like I kind of saw the fade, but I kind of didn't. Okay, this could be a bug right here. If it's a bug, I'm just shooting it. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So notice how I wasn't like I said in my other sniper games that I'm not gonna watch religiously like one mission. Like I'm not gonna sit there and just watch the pearl line bounce around. Like we have other things to watch. I have like an ambassador to watch. So if I miss seeing the drink take, then it's fine. Because I know who's there. Like for example, I knew Salmon either rejected or took a drink and maybe gulped it. So that's why I didn't immediately lowlight Salmon, because then one could argue like, oh well, Salmon didn't have a drink, so why didn't you lowlight him? Well, because in the time that I wasn't watching him, he could have taken a drink. He could have taken the drink, which took the purloin, gulped it down, and then just kept going on with his business. And then maybe I see Smallman take a drink, and I'm like, oh well, the list is gone, so it's Smallman. But then I shoot Smallman, and then it's Salmon. So you don't know. So it's almost just always safer to just bring down everybody else in the party, just those two, and then watch them closely. And by doing that, we ended up finding the real spy, which is so Smallman. And like I said, I thought I saw the fade a little bit out of the corner of my eye, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I like to be 100% sure typically when taking my shots. So yeah. And notice like when you know who the spy is, but then watching like behavior and like trying to analyze like plans for finishing becomes that much easier. Because no spy is just gonna walk. No person who is just one of like 2 lowlights is gonna go walk right next to the ambassador and bug them, and not bug them. I mean, it's just too suspicious. Like, why wouldn't they do that? So yeah, we go to statues. I don't know if we're gonna break etiquette, so I'll watch. Remember, it was BHBH. Yep. Still, we're getting some etiquette breaks, and I'm just gonna skip a little bit ahead. And yeah, it looks like I don't really see anything else to talk about. So yeah, the main thing that a lot of newer players do is break etiquette, and the most common one that I see is statue etiquette. They put down the statue wrong. But the more like subtle ones that like maybe aren't as obvious is that like they leave conversation wrong or they sip drinks wrong. I believe that there's no new things that I saw this time that really need demonstrated, so I don't think I'm gonna bother demonstrating this for this video because I think everything I covered that I would cover in this one was covered in level 0. So uh, check that one out if you really want demonstrations of the etiquette. So what do I think are like the main like things that new players kind of tend to break? So statues, uh, when you go to the windows, this is a common one where they'll take a sip of the drink and then leave either way before 3 seconds end or after 3 seconds end, unless you're Kane, I think it works differently. And then they tend to also break animation when leaving conversation. So typically, like when a character is done with their idle animation, their whole body stiffens up and their hands kind of are at their chest in some sort of position. I think besides Kane and Duke, who their arms were at their sides. But yeah, knowing the etiquette could give you some wins, and I think that it's important to know this stuff. But I think in addition to that, having a nice solid sniper style is also the best. I think that is the way to play the game. All this etiquette stuff, pathing, you can obviously learn it all. There's nothing stopping you, but the most solid sniper style on these sort of like venues would be to look for hardtails. Uh, Typically, like the best example of this is Courtyard. Courtyard is a mission camper's paradise because you know that they basically have to do one of the hardtails. And do I consider fingerprints a hardtail? I kind of do because typically, like the spy either has to break etiquette to get to the fingerprint, or they have to be like kind of subtle about it, which is like a behavioral like kind of like sus way. Like for example, a common technique I see in like my games is that maybe the spy goes next to the ambassador at the start, next to the window pads, and then walks over, picks up the briefcase which has a print on it. I'm always gonna think that's more suspicious than like some random person who got to Windows, then the ambassador got somewhere, and then they moved, and then the person's like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick up the briefcase because I'm obligated to get it," right? Um, I think that that's a lot less sus. It just all depends on the game, honestly. It's just context related. But yeah, there's nothing new I don't think I want to cover in these games. So I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to see. Oh yeah, I did want to see fingerprints. I wanted to see how those worked. Um, so I might cover that next time and do some testing. But there you go. We shot all the spies in level 1 daily with a score of 8-0, and we did it in less than 10 minutes. Total, it counts like the time that you're actually sniping. So I don't think that there's anything else to talk about. I'm trying to think if I wanted to go over anything else, but I think that's it. I think that was a good episode. I think that it was good to see what it's like to play from behind, and I think that throughout time, I think it just gets easier. I think like my intuition kind of told me there that from watching all these replays, it seems like once the spy does like there's like two categories where like a spy will do a very quick mission and then they won't flirt and do like the smart way. They'll go and hurry up and try to do another hard tell, or they'll just basically wait out most of the game, do a swap like towards the end of the game because they realize, oh crap, I have to hurry up and get my move on. And I think that like my instinct kind of helped me on Aquarium because I was kind of expecting another hardtail, and worst case I would have watched some pathing or etiquette things to ensure that I would get the shot right, but I think that I ended up just finding a good shot there. But yeah, I don't think that there's anything else I'm going to talk about, so I'm going to end it there. Thanks everyone for watching, and remember, if you want to see me cover a lot of the etiquette in depth, uh, I have a lot of it in the level 0 daily, and with examples of how I handle the etiquette, and I even have it timestamped, so you don't have to scroll through the video to watch. You could just click on the practice spy mode, I believe is what I timestamped it as. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you for level 0.